think back. Somewhere in your past, there is a plan that died the moment you spoke about it. You remember it. The business you described before you built it. The transformation you announced before you began it. The move you explained to someone who smiled at you, nodded at you, and quietly did not believe in you. You felt lighter after telling them, and then, slowly, without ever deciding to quit, you stopped. That was not laziness. That was not weakness. That was a law of power operating on you silently, the way gravity operates on a falling stone. You broke a rule you were never taught, and tonight you are going to learn it. The rule is simple, ancient, and almost forbidden in a world addicted to sharing. Never reveal your plans, not to your rivals, not to your friends, sometimes not even to your family. Move in silence. Let the outcome speak in a language no one can argue with. 500 years ago, in the roofless courts of Renaissance Italy, a quiet Florentine diplomat watched princes rise and fall, and he noticed something the losers never understood. The ones who survived were not the loudest, they were the least readable. This is his lesson. Stay with it until the end, because the last few minutes of this will change the way you speak for the rest of your life. Let us begin with an uncomfortable truth. A plan is at its weakest at the exact moment you feel most excited about it. Think about what a plan actually is in its early stage. It is not a thing yet. It is not a company, not a body, not a book, not a fortune. It is a fragile arrangement of belief, intention, and imagined future. It exists in one place only, your mind, and in your mind it is protected. No one can mock it there, no one can doubt it there, no one can steal it there. The moment you speak it, everything changes. The plan leaves the fortress of your mind and enters the open field of other people's psychology. And other people's psychology is not neutral territory. It is a landscape shaped by their fears, their envy, their limitations, their own abandoned dreams. Your plan does not land in their ears the way it lives in your heart. It lands as a disturbance. Why does speaking too early weaken a plan? There are several forces at work, and each one alone is enough to kill something fragile. The first force is envy, not the cartoon version of envy where someone openly wishes you harm. Real envy is quieter and far more common. It is the small tightening in a person's chest when they hear that you intend to rise. Most people will never admit it, not even to themselves. But when you announce an ambition, you are unintentionally announcing a comparison. You are saying, without saying it, that you intend to become more than you are. And for anyone standing still, your motion feels like an accusation. They will not attack you, they will simply become a subtle headwind. A doubtful question here, a discouraging statistic there, a joke that is not quite a joke. Envy rarely swings a sword. It leans on you gently for years. The second force is opinion. The moment your plan becomes public, it becomes debatable. Everyone you tell now feels entitled to a verdict. The cousin who never built anything will analyze your business model. The friend who never trained will critique your ambition. The colleague who plays it safe will explain the risks. None of them carry your vision, your hunger, or your information, but their opinions enter your head anyway, and now your clean, private conviction is contaminated with a dozen borrowed doubts. A plan discussed by committee becomes a compromise. A plan kept in silence remains a weapon. The third force is the most dangerous because it feels like a reward. Psychologists have studied this for decades, and the finding is brutal. When you announce a goal and receive praise for it, your brain registers a taste of the achievement itself. The identity you were working toward, the founder, the author, the disciplined man, the free woman, is partially granted to you in advance, socially, just for describing it. You are congratulated for a future that does not exist, and that congratulation quietly drains the tension that was supposed to drive you. The hunger that would have carried you through 1,000 difficult mornings is fed by applause instead of achievement. Talking becomes a substitute for doing. You do not feel yourself quitting. You simply feel less pull. The dream was consumed at the dinner table, in conversation, one impressive announcement at a time. The fourth force is social pressure in reverse. When your plan is public, its failure becomes public too. Every delay is now witnessed, every setback. Some people can carry that weight, most cannot. Fear of visible failure makes you cautious in exactly the moments that demand boldness. You start protecting your image instead of pursuing your outcome. And a person defending an image cannot attack an objective. And then there is the fifth force, the one nobody wants to believe until it happens to them. Hidden enemies. Not everyone who smiles at you is on your side. Some people collect information the way others collect coins, casually, constantly, and with future use in mind. The colleague who learns you are planning to leave. The acquaintance who hears about your idea and knows someone who could execute it faster. The relative who repeats your private ambitions at gatherings you never attend, framed in whatever way entertains the room. You will almost never see the damage directly. You will only notice months later that doors close quietly, that someone moved before you, that your position weakened in ways you cannot trace. Information travels. It always travels. And it travels stripped of your intentions, carrying only its usefulness to whoever holds it. So understand what an early announcement really is. It is not sharing, it is exposure. You are handing out maps of your future to people who did not earn them, who cannot help you read them, and who may one day use them against you. The plan that stays silent stays sovereign. The plan that is spoken becomes shared property, and shared property is always the first thing to be damaged. Now, let us place this rule where it belongs, inside the cold, clear architecture of power. Niccolo Machiavelli was not a monster. He was a diagnostician. He served the Florentine Republic as a diplomat and observer during one of the most treacherous periods in European history, a time when city-states rose and collapsed within a generation, when alliances dissolved overnight, when a careless word in the wrong court could end a career or a life. He did not invent the darkness of politics. He simply refused to look away from it. And when he wrote about power, he described the world as it is, not as sermons wished it to be. One of his most enduring observations, expressed throughout his work, is that the world judges by appearances. People see what you show them. Very few ever touch what you truly are. Most of humanity forms its conclusions from the surface, from what is displayed, announced, and performed. Machiavelli understood that this is not a flaw to complain about. It is a condition to master. If people respond to appearances, then whoever controls appearances controls responses, and whoever controls responses holds power without ever raising his voice. Follow that logic one step further, and you arrive at the heart of tonight's lesson. If perception is the battlefield, then information is the ammunition. Every fact about you that circulates in the world is a resource, and like any resource, it can be spent wisely or wasted. Your intentions, your timelines, your fears, your next move, these are assets. When you reveal them freely, you are not being open, you are being looted voluntarily with a smile on your face. Power, in the Machiavellian sense, belongs to the person who controls four things: information, timing, perception, and emotion. Information first. In every negotiation, every rivalry, every subtle contest of daily life, the advantage flows to the side that knows more and reveals less. The one who knows your plans can prepare for them, position against them, or quietly claim them. The one who knows your emotions can provoke them. The one who knows your fears can prize them. Every disclosure is a transfer of leverage. The strategist gives away nothing that has not been weighed, not because he is paranoid, but because he understands that in the economy of power, information is currency, and only fools pay for conversation with gold. Timing second. A move revealed early can be countered, A move revealed at the moment of execution cannot. Renaissance princes understood that the announcement of an intention is an invitation to interference. The moment your rival knows where you are going, the race changes. He no longer needs to be faster than you in general. He only needs to be faster than you on that one road. Machiavelli watched fortunes turn on this single variable again and again. Not who was stronger, but who moved first and who moved unseen. In the spirit of his thinking, the lesson is simple. Surprise is not a trick. Surprise is a multiplier. It makes small forces decisive and large forces unstoppable. And surprise has one absolute requirement: silence beforehand. Perception third. Here is where most modern people misunderstand silence entirely. They think silence reads as emptiness, as absence, as having nothing to say. The opposite is true. In human psychology, the unreadable person acquires weight. When people cannot map you, they cannot dismiss you. The mind hates a void and fills it, usually with caution, curiosity, and a strange, reluctant respect. The man who explains everything becomes ordinary because everything explained can be measured and everything measured can be ranked. The man who explains nothing remains a question, and people are careful around questions. Emotion fourth, and this one turns inward. Machiavelli's world punished emotional transparency ruthlessly. A prince whose anger could be provoked could be manipulated. A rival whose excitement could be read, could be anticipated. To control the game, you must first be uncontrollable, not in your actions, but in your reactions. When your face announces your feelings and your mouth announces your plans, you are an open book in a library of thieves. Composure is not coldness. Composure is armor. The disciplined exterior protects the ambitious interior, the way castle walls protect the treasury. Now hear this clearly, because it separates strategy from villainy. Silence is not deception. You are not lying to anyone by declining to narrate your life. No one is owed your plans. No one is entitled to your intentions. There is no moral law that requires you to hand your future to every curious person who asks what you have been up to. Discretion is not dishonesty, it is simply the refusal to arm the world against yourself. Machiavelli would understand this distinction instantly. There is a difference between wearing a mask to harm others and wearing armor to protect what you are building. Tonight, we speak only of the armor. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. It is the decision that your inner world will not be public territory. It is the discipline of a mind that no longer needs to be witnessed in order to believe in itself. The loud man asks the word for permission. The silent man has already given himself the only permission that matters. You might think this wisdom belongs to marble palaces and poisoned chalices. It does not. The courts of Renaissance Italy have simply been renamed. Today they are called the office, the group chat, the family dinner, the gym, the timeline. The daggers are smaller. The game is identical. Let us walk through the territories of your actual life and watch this rule operate in each one. Begin with your career. You decide it is time to leave your job, to chase a better position, or to start something of your own. The temptation to speak is enormous. You want your colleagues to know you have options. You want your manager to sense your value. So you mention it. Casually, you think. Safely, you think. And from that moment, you are no longer an employee. You are a flight risk. You are quietly removed from long term projects. Your name drifts off the promotion list. The manager who once invested in you begins rationally to invest in your replacement. You announce your future, and the present was taken from you as the price. The professional who moves correctly does the opposite. He performs impeccably, prepares silently, secures the new position completely, and only then speaks when the decision is no longer a topic for discussion, but a fact for absorption. His resignation letter is the first anyone hears of it. And notice what happens. He is respected for it, not resented, respected, because finished things command a reverence that intentions never earn. Now, business. You have an idea. It is early, unformed, alive, with possibility. You describe it to a wide circle, seeking feedback, seeking encouragement, seeking, if you are honest, admiration. Understand what you have just done. Ideas are cheap to hold and expensive to build, which means the person who hears your idea gets the cheap part for free. Most will do nothing with it, but it only takes one. One listener with more capital, more time, or fewer scruples, and you will watch your own vision walk past you wearing someone else's name. And even when no one steals it, something subtler happens. The idea loses its charge. Described too many times, it becomes a story you tell instead of a thing you build. Every telling polishes the narrative and postpones the work. The builders you admire did not workshop their dreams at parties. They built in the dark and let the launch do the talking. Money is its own dark territory, perhaps the darkest of all. Reveal your income, your savings, your investments, your windfalls, and watch the atmosphere around you change within weeks. Requests arrive, wrapped in emergencies. Expectations inflate silently. Suddenly, you are the one who should pay, lend, rescue, sponsor. Old friends recalculate the friendship. Relatives you barely know rediscover your phone number. And beneath all of it flows envy, patient and corrosive, from people who now measure their lives against your numbers. Wealth that is visible becomes a target and a burden. Wealth that is silent remains what it was meant to be: freedom. The old families understood this. The truly rich are often the hardest to identify. It is the insecure who announce their money, and the strategic who let you underestimate their position. Consider fitness and self transformation, because this is where the psychology becomes almost laboratory clean. Announce on the 1st of January that this is your year, that you will transform your body, and observe the strange resistance that gathers around you. The friends who suddenly want to meet at restaurants, the family member who says you look fine as you are, in a tone that means please do not change, because your change disturbs my comfort. The subtle mockery when you order differently, train early, decline the drink. None of it is coordinated. All of it is real. Your discipline is a mirror, and people do not like what mirrors show them. The transformation that succeeds is usually the one conducted quietly. You simply begin, you say nothing, and months later, when the change is undeniable, no one can mock a result. They could only have mocked a promise. You never gave them one. Relationships deserve their own warning. When you narrate your relationship to outsiders, every argument, every doubt, every private negotiation, you invite a jury into a room built for two. Friends form verdicts about your partner from evidence presented by one side in one mood on one bad day. Long after you have forgiven, they remember. Their remembered version of your partner begins to color yours. What was a passing storm becomes a permanent file. The strongest bonds are guarded ones, where the interior of the relationship remains interior and the world sees only the finished surface. Two people who handle their affairs themselves. This is not secrecy from your partner, it is secrecy with your partner. The walls face outward. And then there is the modern arena that Machiavelli never saw but would have recognized instantly: social media. Here, the announcement of intentions has been industrialized. Entire platforms are engineered to reward you for declaring who you are about to become. The gym photo before the discipline, the entrepreneur bio before the revenue. The applause arrives instantly, chemically, reliably, and it is counterfeit achievement paid to your brain in the currency of likes. Meanwhile, you have handed a permanent, time stamped record of your ambitions to an audience that includes rivals, skeptics, future employers, and strangers who wish you nothing in particular, which is its own kind of nothing. The most powerful accounts you follow, if you look closely, rarely announce, they reveal. There is a difference. Announcement precedes the work, revelation follows it. One begs for belief, the other compels it. Even family. And this must be said carefully, because it is the hardest truth in this entire lesson. Your family can love you completely and still be unsafe territory for your plans, not because they wish you harm, but because their love is entangled with their fear. A parent who watched you struggle will discourage the risk that could free you because they are protecting the child they remember, not the person you are becoming. A sibling who shares your history may quietly need you to remain in your old role because your rise reorders the family's silent hierarchy. Their doubt does not come from malice, it comes from love, memory, and self protection braided together, which makes it more persuasive and therefore more dangerous than any enemy's doubt could ever be. You can honor your family, protect your family, cherish your family, and still understand that some plans should meet them only as finished realities. Tell them where you have arrived. Spare them the anxiety of the journey. That, too, is a form of love and friendships. Real friends exist, and we will speak of them soon because the answer is not universal distrust, but be honest about the arithmetic of your circle. For every friend who can hear your ambition cleanly, there are several whose reaction will be filtered through their own stalled lives. When you rise, you become evidence that rising was possible, which means their standing still was a choice. Few egos can absorb that quietly, so they respond in the small ways: the change subject, the backhanded compliment, the sudden nostalgia for the old you, the gentle campaign to keep you at their altitude. This is why some friendships mysteriously cool exactly when your life improves. You did nothing wrong, you simply became a measurement. The wise strategist spares his friendships this test whenever possible. He rises quietly and lets those who can celebrate the result celebrate it, without, without ever having been asked to endorse the risk. Look across all these territories and see the single pattern. In every arena, premature disclosure converts your allies into judges, your peers into rivals, your resources into targets, and your energy into performance. And in every arena, silence reverses the conversion. The rule is not paranoia, it is physics. Pressure escapes through openings. Close the openings, and the pressure builds inside you where it belongs, driving the work. Now we go deeper beneath strategy into what silence does to the one who keeps it. Because the greatest beneficiary of your discretion is not your plan, it is your mind. Begin with focus. Every plan you announce becomes a conversation you must maintain. People ask for updates, you supply narratives, you explain delays, defend choices, manage impressions. A part of your mental machinery, a larger part than you realize, is permanently assigned to public relations for a project that does not yet exist. Silence dissolves that entire department. When no one knows, no one asks. When no one asks, you owe no story. The full weight of your attention returns to the only conversation that matters, the one between you and the work. There is a particular quality of concentration available only to those with nothing to explain. It feels like depth. It feels like the difference between swimming on the surface and moving underwater where the noise stops. Then discipline. And here lies a secret most people never discover. Discipline maintained in private is a different substance than discipline performed in public. When your effort is visible, part of your motivation is always borrowed from the audience, their expectations, their potential judgment, their applause. Borrowed motivation must be repaid, and the interest is anxiety. But when your effort is invisible, motivation must come from a single source, your own decision. This is harder at first. It is also transformative. Every silent repetition, every unwitnessed early morning, every private refusal of an easy pleasure builds something that public effort cannot. Proof delivered directly to yourself that you act on your own authority. Psychologists call this self efficacy. Older traditions called it character. The mechanism is identical. You are accumulating evidence that your word to yourself is law, and a person governed by his own word cannot be governed by much else. Silence also builds mystery, and mystery is a strange, real form of social power. Consider the people who have genuinely impressed you in your life. Almost certainly they shared a quality. They were not fully knowable. There was a reserve in them, a sense of rooms you had not been shown. That reserve was not coldness, it was gravity. Human attention orbits the unexplained. When you explain everything about yourself, your plans, your feelings, your reasons, your next move, you complete other people's picture of you, and a completed picture is filed away. When you leave the picture unfinished, you remain an open question, and open questions are revisited. This is why the quietest person in the room so often carries the most presence. It is not what they say, it is everything they visibly choose not to. There is also leverage, cold and practical. Every piece of information you withhold is optionality preserved. The plan not yet announced can still be changed without embarrassment. The position not yet declared can still be negotiated. The intention not yet public can be abandoned, doubled, reversed, or delayed, and the world will never call it inconsistency because the world never knew. Announcement freezes you. Silence keeps you fluid. In any contest, a salary negotiation, a business deal, a subtle social rivalry, the party with more undisclosed options holds the advantage. Always. The talkative negotiator reveals his floor in the first 10 minutes. The silent one lets the other side negotiate against their own imagination, which is invariably a harsher opponent than he would have been. And beneath all of it, quietest and most important is self respect. Ask yourself why you want to announce the plan. Sit with the question honestly. In most cases, beneath the practical justifications, you will find a hunger to be seen as the kind of person who does such things. Announcement is a request for identity on credit. And every time the credit is extended, every time someone says, "That's amazing, you're going to do great," a small dependency deepens. Your sense of self migrates outward into the hands of witnesses. Silence reverses the migration. When you keep the plan inside, you are forced to believe in it without cosigners. You learn to draw certainty from your own judgment, satisfaction from your own progress, identity from your own actions. Slowly, the approval of others changes category. It was oxygen. It becomes decoratio.